So guys, the next topic I want to get into is gaming industry versus gamer time versus gamer age. What I really want to discuss is, coming off the back of the last topic, we know that games are getting complex. Games require a lot of investment of time,
Mm.
and gaming as a service is almost another life.
Job.
Yeah, it's another job, definitely. Gamers these days have a lot of choice, not only in games, but in all sorts of things, like other types of media, music, whatever it may
Yeah.
be.
Movies, yeah.
And then you have this, I think, quite wide band now of gamers. Because I myself are, quite an old gamer in comparison. I started off from the 8-bit computers. But being an older gamer, I have less time to invest. So I just wanted to kind of bring this topic to the fore, get your kind of view on it, because obviously, we're at different stages of our life. Some of us have got families, some of us haven't.
Mm.
Some of us have been gaming, for X amount of time, whatever it may be. Hey Al, you know what? I'm going to start
Mm.
with you. So, what's your take
I
on
think it's an
this?
interesting one, and I think it depends on. And again, we touched upon it probably on the topic before around the differences between a hardcore gamer and a casual gamer, and also age. Age is actually very important to it because what you'll end up finding is there's going to be a mix of those in those different categories. And obviously, what typically would happen is the different age groups would then have more disposable income, in theory, because you've been working or should be working. And then actually, you'd be what does the developer want to focus on? Who do they want to focus their efforts on? And actually, is the money angle the key thing for them? Or do they do something like, oh, the younger age group, let's get them hooked, nice and early enough, and then many years down the line, they will still continue to spend. When they do get disposable incomes. I don't know if they're thinking that deep into those different angles and those different pieces, but from the perspective of a kind of progressively aging gamer as well, I would say we have to make a choice. You have to almost like how much time you can commit, and just trying to stick with it. I think that's just reality, unfortunately. The more responsibilities, the more things we've got on. Should we bounce to Jay? Do you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, I'm making sure I've interpreted the question right because the for me it's like a journey, like in anything in life, right? Whether it's learning something via school or learning it in the workplace or your hobbies, everything goes through a journey, and I think it makes it fun, right? As you were talking an hour going, getting older and having less time now, we'll all get more time later as we ease off at work. I think it allows you just to experiment with different types of games and the thing that we
Mm.
love, and I think that keeps it fresh and interesting from a gamer perspective, and I think it from a developer perspective and a publisher perspective, it's interesting how they're adapting the models of the different types of game, of the mature nature of certain types of games, making games more complex, targeting particular age groups, experimenting with different games, and even the youngsters, they're not going to play the sort of games that we are going to play going forwards, and it was the same for the gamers before us, and I just think I just see this as this topic as a very positive and healthy thing for an industry for all those three parties. I guess the last thing to say on this before we bounce the topic around is that I'm time poor now, but it makes me appreciate gaming even
Mm.
more, and I'm more interested in the new side of things now, which I haven't been previously. All of this wraps up in a journey, of life. Basically, I would say is quite philosophical. That's those my kind of viewpoints on that. But to yourself, Joe, what's
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I am actually very time poor at the moment. For people who don't know, I'm a newish dad, obviously. We've all got quite busy jobs. Typically, I always try and have a few irons in the fire, to keep kind of life interesting. But what I would say is that I think the games industry has tried to tackle this. I don't know if I would call it a problem, right? But it's tried to tackle the diversity of gamers, if you like, yeah, before. And it's maybe tried to do it with episodic content,
Mm.
that sort of thing. And now it might be trying to tackle it with smaller sized AAA titles, like your Spider-Man Miles Morales type of size games. I also think they've definitely got one eye on this. I mean, it's not just about age either. It's just about time investment, because obviously games basically they're not just fighting against other games. They're fighting against everything else, like music, cinema, YouTube, anything that takes time. I think Jim Ryan had a recent interview and he said something that was actually quite profound. He actually said a lot of the art that PlayStation produce is gated almost, because really, let's say per game, per AAA game that maybe PlayStation produce, there's 20 million people that sample it. But for other types of media, there's hundreds of
Mm.
millions. But I think the big difference in those, other types of media are just the time investment.
Mm.
You want to listen to a tune, what, 5 minutes? You want to see a film, it's kind of like, it's like 3 hours. Yeah. Maybe kind of a TV series is a little bit different. But really, that's going to end up, unless you're kind of going to binge on kind of box sets, you're talking about a couple of hours a week. Whereas a game is a very different sort of time investment, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
Totally different.
Probably depends on the game, though. I think
It
some
does.
will take all the hours of the day that you can possibly get. But
Yeah,
then
yeah.
some are limited. Some are limited.
Yeah, some are limited, but we don't play those limited games that often. As core
Yeah,
gamers,
there's
I gotta say, that doesn't happen that often.
this is another topic for another time, but I watched something around how gaming can hijack your brain, because we're all designed to basically solve problems. So even when you're not playing the game, your brain is still solving the problems in the game, particularly a live service MMORPG type game, right? Whether we like it or not, right? And that's another topic. Is gaming bad and addictive or whatever? I mean, this topic, there's lots of questions within sub-nested within here, but I don't think this is much of a problem, because from a gamer media consumer customer perspective, it's nice to have options,
Yep.
whether
Yep.
music, videos,
Yep.
or games, and then the genres within the games. From a publisher developer perspective, I don't think they're ever the time and age ever is going to cause a problem, because the growth is on the additional number of gamers coming in, either because the population is growing or more people see gaming as not a taboo and join it. And I think that's all their growth is going to come from there, versus gamers falling off because they're having less time because they're competing with media and music, or they're getting to a certain age and maybe the games aren't suitable for them. I think there's enough growth on just people just coming in on the conveyor belt.
Yeah, I think there's one
Um,
condition that hasn't been addressed, which is, and I don't know, this is probably exacerbated by social media and other things, right? But the whole FOMO kind of thing, right? It's you're being afraid of missing out, right? You almost actually, you have so many of these live service games. If you've got friends playing in other games that you're not able to invest any time in, you're almost a bit missing out to an extent. There's a level of, I don't know, there's something there that actually may cause you to be in a very difficult position where you're probably investing more time than you even possibly should be investing in. So there's something that's kind of behind there somewhere. I mean, I don't think it is a big issue, but I suspect there is some impact in there somewhere.
I find like it's very relevant for me. Like, for example, with you guys, right, where I want to find a game to play with you guys, and we're all just playing different games, and because there's so much variety, and I think that's where it becomes a bit of a problem, because at the particular moment in time, your friend wanting to be interested in that game, as well as lining up the time. And I find, like with Destiny, I've gone, people have come and left, but I've got a friends group who I don't really know. I've never met them in person, and I think that's how my gaming life is going to be now going forwards. And I've kind of come to that realization and just being comfortable with it, versus trying to convince my friends, oh, there's this game coming out, let's play that together. It just doesn't. I still say it. It just does not going to happen because there's just so much variety now. And
Yeah, there's too much content. I mean, I remember saying this in our last podcast. That's one of the big differences between now and back when I kind of started playing games, or even 10 years ago. The amount of content that's available to us now is just amazing. You could literally find, kind of every week, you could find a game that you've never heard about that would look quite compelling, that you'd actually want to at least try. And back in the day, it was never like this. But now, yeah, there's so much of it. I mean, it's just, you need 10 lives, if you know what I mean. In parallel.
it's that's what I actually thought about. This as sad as it might sound. I thought I wish I could do. What's that? What I can't remember the name of the film now. God, when he goes in multiple, he pauses time and goes in multiple dimensions. What's it called? Inception.
Ah, yeah.
I wish I could do an Inception and just increase the time and then go down in level, and then you could have infinite amount of time to read books and magazines and play games and movies.
Yeah.
That's the only way it's going to happen.
The resulting outcome is your mind will turn to mush, though.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's also possible. It's an interesting conversation. And Jay, I think you're also right. I think as time goes on, right, the people playing games is going to broaden. Definitely broaden. And then I wonder if it broadens whether people kind of also start looking at the amount of time investment you need in games as well. Rather than having some long, drawn out game, story or otherwise, you have a really short, sharp, dense, intense experience for 3 hours or whatever it may be, and then you're done. Who knows?
Indie games do that quite well, don't they?
I mean, it should be on my list as well, but I'll just also mention the fact that there is a regional disparity as well with China's ban on kind of, I think it was either children where they were limited to playing, like, was it an hour on Friday or a weekend or something? So even then, it's...
Was it 3 hours a week? 3 hours a week,
very,
was it
very limited. But that would have an impact on, I guess, a chain of younger gamers, I guess, to an adulthood, I guess.
They've gone even further now. There's a list of genres of games that aren't allowed to be published in China because it influences people's mindset and it affects the culture. So, like, no violence. I mean, how many games have violence in there, right? So the other thing I wanted to say, I've forgotten it. It'll come back to me now. There was something I wanted to say.
There's your old age kicking in.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Did you know why you need to spend less time playing games?
Oh no, I've remembered now. Sorry, this was what it was, right? So I've really got this interest in following gaming news, and I always have, but I do it far more in the last probably 5 years. And I thought about it this week, and without actively thinking about it, just one of those things my brain's been working through, and it's just clipped on this call, is because there's so much variety in games. By following the news and watching a couple of trailers, I can get a bit of a buzz from the game mechanic from a video or an article without actually investing time in playing it, and that also creates enjoyment.
But I think this is also the popularity of Twitch, right? You're seeing a gamer play it in front of you. You're interacting with them. You're almost seeing the game at the same time. It's like it's another method of, I don't know. It's like optimizing your time.
It works, yeah. No, I agree with that. I always use it as a technique to make sure the game doesn't add to my backlog.
Get someone else to play for you, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I would never watch the whole game, but I mean, 20 minutes, 10 minutes of a game, and like, okay, I can see what it is, and yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's the core mechanic. Most games have a loop on a mechanic, don't they? And that's pretty much it.
An interesting topic for another podcast, actually, just the whole really movement around watching game streams and also competitive gaming these days and all that sort of thing, because it's becoming almost a kind of real televised sport. So
well, the Dota International is happening right now.
Yeah,
$40 million
like
US the prize.
No small chunk of change
Wow.
No small chunk of change. And guys, I think with that said, and to be honest, with really inconclusive conclusions, other than we actually want to play games no matter what, and we want to expend whatever time we have to play games, and like games gonna broaden in terms of who's playing them over time. Did a lot of different models. I think it's really time to move on to the next topic.